reminded you that you are perfect, would you argue me down or step into your perfection? Welcome to Perfect Mode, where there are no excuses, no expectations, and we explore the world without limitations. I'm Jay Clay, rapper, the spiritual teacher, with my co-host Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor. Let's be real, so let's be perfect. Everything, anything, plenty perfect. Everything, anything, plenty perfect mode. Everything, anything, plenty perfect mode. Everything, anything, plenty perfect mode. Perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode, perfect mode. Everything, anything, plenty perfect mode. Perfect mode, everything, anything, plenty perfect mode.
Perfect.
Welcome to Perfect Mode. Welcome to Perfect Mode. And first off, let me start by telling y'all that we love y'all. We're grateful for the opportunity to be anywhere, sharing our thoughts, hopefully in helping you realize that you are perfect. And the reason why I can unapologetically say that is because I know that you are one of one, numero uno. You cannot be replicated, duplicated. And the only reason, and I mean the only reason you would think that you're not perfect is if you're looking at this person on the side of you and saying, I'm not them. But guess what? You are you. And that's all you need. And of course, it's yours truly, Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor. And I have my boy Jay Clay, spiritual rapper and teacher. And we about to get on here and talk about, man. Hold on, before I even say this title, bro. The first time I read this title was before the show started. And then as the theme music was on, I read it over and over again. And in my head, I was like, man, this is cold. But I got to go ahead and tell you, we're finna talk about past equals future. Present has no equal. It has no equal, man. It has no equal. What up, Jay?
What up? Happy Sunday to all my perfect people in perfect land, jumping into perfect mode, ready to be perfect and accept your perfection. And yeah, and part of that is being rooted in the present and really understanding the relationship between the past and the future. And so that we can break free and have all the gifts that the present offers.
So, man, I'm telling you, and like I said, I read it over and over again, and I'm with you. Like, home is now. You know, we know this. This is something that we kind of revisit over and over again, and I'm glad that we really going to do a deep dive on it today about, home being now. But just you want to talk about the wordplay and past equals future, present has no equal. That's so dope, man. More than I can even explain. But I want to know, what were your thoughts when you first saw this topic?
It's so many. Like I know that a lot of people invest in the past, and they invest in it because they believe it prevents them from repeating it in the future.
Now, when you say
Okay.
invest, before we get into it, but when you say invest, you meaning spending their time revisiting the past over and over again, or studying or researching the past, right?
Both and
Okay.
more.
Right. Okay.
So like sometimes I'll even hear people in relationships say, I wasted X amount of years in this. Like they're comparing things to a past, or like people who are in a job that they don't want to be in. They're like, well, I put in so much time. That's in a sense investing in that past. People not wanting to change who they are, even for their betterment, because they fear that, I don't know, they fear the unknown in a sense. And so they're so invested in who they were, even if it's to their own demise, that they may not be willing to change. And I want to kind of break that cycle so that people can see the joys of being rooted in the now.
So, and the reason why I pointed that out, because I wanted people to understand when you say invest in it, because just on the general surface of things, you might just think that you don't see that the way that you look at your past, or the way that you revisit your past, or the way that you relive your past as an investment. You feel like it's always a part of you that you cannot separate yourself from. And that's the reason why I wanted to point that out, so that way it's clear the pathway that we're trying to go down. And then it's the same pathway when we talk about the investment in the past. is the investment in the future. How we have grand thoughts, we have grand ideas, and we allow that to take over and be the end point of thinking at all times, or the end point of living or imagining of all times. But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, yeah, and we all have a special relationship with the past as a society. So like some believe like in certain ancient civilizations they had it right. They were living the right way. Like we need to go back to that time. But then at the same time, these same people would embrace the technology. Like they didn't know more than we know. We got this technology now. We got this. We have all this information. So people aren't even really consistent in their view of the past. Like were these humans living correctly or were they not? Were they inferior? You know what I mean? Like it's so much entangled in that. But also people do understand the idea of becoming more wise or becoming more knowledgeable as you live more. And with that, some of your experiences haven't been seen through this new wisdom yet. You just automatically accept that past wisdom of it and you go about your day. But again, like you're looking at the world through the eyes of a 6 year old, which could be a good thing in some ways, but in other ways it can be very hindering. And so the idea is when you step into the present and not be blocked by all of this baggage you're bringing on from the past, you can see it for what it really is.
You know, it's funny and using the words that we're going to say, because I understand that there's an investment in the past when you make the comparison. But what I've seen a lot of times, more often than not, is that we are so locked into the past that it's tough to say that you miss the present. You know what I mean? Because you're always present, but the moments are not fully realized because you're so stuck behind. And the funny the way that I like to think about it is, um, you know, older people, including myself, and people that are older than me, are always resistant to technology. We're always resistant to technology. Like there's always a better, faster, more efficient way to do things today. And the way that we combat that is we try to look at things from a negative standpoint on how things are done now. Well, back in my day, you know, we didn't. The reason why you're missing the boat here is because y'all missing that step that we used to do back then, or you know, all of these different things. And then the realization is when we finally decide to let go of that past and we decide to live in the present and experience the new technology or experience the new pathway, then you that's when you still have that reinvestment in your past where you like, man, if I had have known, versus just saying, wow, how amazing this moment is and how easy it is now that I can now look to build in a more efficient way that's easy for me. It's just kind of the way that we kind of miss the boat in that all the time. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah,
Oh, we wait
and
too late.
right, there's a couple ways that that's tied to the future too, because we may stop ourselves from doing certain things based on how it played out in the past. And we may not have given our view of the past a fair shake. It could have been so many things that went into play with that. And so when it comes to the future, I don't want to do that because I know how it's going to turn out. I don't want to go to this event. I don't want to do this show. I don't want to go here and go to this opportunity because I know exactly what it's going to be like. But again, the truth is you have no
You
idea
don't know.
what it's going to be like. But not only that, there's another aspect to how the past is tied to the future is in our ability to create and manifest. So whatever you focus on will expand. It will be very present in your world. You can be around a person, and if you focus on what you think their faults are, it's going to get more annoying, more annoying. If you focus on what you think that their loving components are, you're going to be more loving toward them because that's all you notice. But you don't realize it by what you're giving your attention to. And if you're giving your attention to things that events that happened to in the past, you're going to carry those moments on from here on out with you, and it's going to define you and define the reality that you find yourself in.
So I got a couple of examples of the appreciation of things and how they expand or how they don't expand, or you can kind of just uh overlook them, oversee them, right?
Yeah.
Now, funny enough, this happened to me years ago, and it also happened to me recently. Now, when I came to your house one time, I talked about how quiet it was. Like it's always just quiet. And it's because I live in a house with kids. And if anybody that lives in a house with kids, you know that there's always something going on, even so much so that I had to tell them before the show. I was like, hey, while I'm doing the show, y'all don't be in here arguing because I can actually hear y'all on the show, right?
Yeah.
And so, but nonetheless, when you have a house full of kids are always doing kid things. It's all good, right? But because I look at them as kid things, they don't bother me as much as they could bother somebody else that's not used to that type of environment. And so what I mean is I could be in the living room and my kids could just be going ham in a sense, right? And I don't hear them. My mind is only triggered to hear if there is an emergency or something happens, or something that's not supposed to happen, like they fight and it's a real serious fight. But elsewise, because I haven't deemed them as bad things. Now, again, I just told you the things that I would hear. I've triggered myself to say that if this thing happens, it's something that I'm going to hear, or it's something that's alarming, or something that's annoying, or something to that effect. But funny enough, because I've also characterized or described or defined things as white noise in a sense, I don't hear them at all. Like they will ask me, "Did you hear this?" And I'd be like, "No, I didn't. I didn't hear anything. I was literally attuned to whatever I was doing." And that is really how life works. Like you said, when you put the focus on something, like somebody else that's not used to or have not described or defined things the way that I've defined them, sitting in my seat would probably mind. They probably would be hollering and yelling the entire time because it's like, bro, fam, stop. What we doing? What we doing here? But go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. What's funny is because I'm thinking about, I've been to your house too, and I've never considered your house a noisy house. And so, but I will accept my house is very quiet. Like it is very peaceful in this neighborhood. And when it is some noise, I'm like, what's going on? They messing up my quiet space. But that's so true. Like when I guess maybe because I accept it ahead of time that it I'm not going to be tied to any outcome when I go to your house. Like I'm not expecting it to be quiet. I'm not expecting it to be noisy. I'm fully rooted in the moment for what it offers. Because again, when you're not bringing certain things with you, like we talk about all the time, like you may see the homeless person, they're carrying all their belongings with them. They're missing out on a freedom of maybe opportunity just because they're trying to watch out for all of their stuff. Whereas you may see a rich person, they don't even have the ID. They might not even have a card to pay for something. They're just out and about, just free, just trusting. And you just notice a lot more stuff when you're not worried about everything else that you're taking with you.
And funny, even to that point, the quiet is equal. You know what I mean? In a sense, because while I'm here, even while they're doing kid things, I still look at it as quiet. It's still quiet to me. And I don't even acknowledge a different type of quiet until I experience it at your house. And the funniest part about it is the quiet is so quiet that it's loud. So now I'm sitting there and I'm telling you, man, it's quiet. Man, like I'm acknowledging it so much because I've I've this in my mind, I've described it as loud myself. And it's funny how, all things kind of can be equal just depending on how you look at it. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. And I love that you said that too, because a lot of times in my meditation, it's this sound that I hear. I call it nothingness or no thingness, but it's loud to me, but it's not an annoying loud. It's like a very peaceful loud. And and again, that's something else you will notice when not tune out, but when you're not worried about every other thing that really doesn't concern you, except being truly focused in the moment, rooted in what it is now. Like even one exercise, I know we brought it up on the show before, is to try to be in a conversation where you don't bring up a past experience. Now I know this may, like, even in this, we bring up past experiences all the time in this show, But when you're actively trying to do it, you realize how much and how invested you really are in your past, in everything that happened in the past. Like you can't wait to share your past experience with something, even if it was traumatic.
So it's a couple things here, and I love the all the descriptiveness that we're using to explain our even our own life and how you know it's broken up into the parts that we've defined, right? So the next, I guess the next part to this is how how is it, because I feel like just based off me being around people that separation is very hard to do. Like just to say, I know that my past is a part of me, but it does not dictate or define who I am or where I'm going. And so one of the things that I like to do all the time, and I think I've told you this before, I just like to do something new. And I mean something new that nobody around me has told me about before, because I don't have any preconceived notion of what it's supposed to be or how it's supposed to be. And then also I don't have anything to lean on to say this is how it can turn out or this is what happened in the past. And I mean it could just be little things like, again, like whenever I go in the kitchen, pick up a tool that I never picked up before and just use it. You know what I mean? Now, again, visually, I might have seen it used before, but in my hands, I've never done it. But the reason for it is because living life and experiencing things, not being afraid to experience things, is always the best way to quell the past. I feel like. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, and one way too, like one way that I was able to not so much separate because it's not. I mean, you
Right.
still are connected to what happened, but just not be so rooted in it is understanding the role that it plays and if it truly serves you. So, like, let's say I had a problem with you, Troy, and like let's say we weren't cool. I had a problem with you. This means that no matter how happy I am, whenever I see you now, I have to be mad or I have to be combative or something. Like I can't be my full happy self because I'm holding on to some kind of ill intent that I have toward you. And we don't always realize that like I'm holding on to this for you. Like why would I hold on to something ill, something hurtful for someone else? Like it makes no sense. Yet we do it all the time. And when you start to see all these patterns of just things we're holding on for the wrong reasons, it's like, nah, I don't want to touch this anymore. I don't want to carry this. It hurts. No wonder I'm always tired because I'm always lugging this big wastefulness around all the time.
No, and again, that the way that you explain that, it ties to everything. It's the same thing like when working out. Like whenever you work out, if you experience some type of soreness, the next time you work out, the first thing you're going to think about is you being sore. And instead of just letting it go and saying, I'm going to experience this a new way with the way that I feel right now, is ideal. But again, that's not something that we easily do, because the thing that's making me resistant to working out again is me thinking about how I felt in the past. And that, again, that's the reason why for myself, I always like to try something new. That's another reason why I have there's an appreciation for reading a book or listening to a new book, because it's just something new. I don't have any idea what the outcome could be. I don't have any idea how I'm going to feel about it aside from me actually doing it in this moment. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah. Yeah, and you had me thinking of an exercise I want to do after this, which can be helpful, is just re-going over the things that I want to do, right? And within all of those things, there may be some excuses that are stopping me from doing certain things or going about it a certain way. And when I look at those excuses, are they rooted in the past? Like, is it something that's real? Like, do I have a real leg to stand on with this? Why is that? Why do I believe in that it's gonna only turn out this way? So much so that I'm not willing to even to try to overcome it in order to receive what I believe that I want to receive. And I'm actually looking forward to doing that just to see like where am I stopping myself up from? What am I carrying right now that's preventing me from achieving all of the goals that I want to achieve?
Now, funny enough, my wife think I'm crazy about this because she is a review queen. And again, people again, we would live in the past, we would live in the future, but people don't want to live now. People don't want to experience what's new. Like everything that you've never done is new to you, right? And so when I talk about her being a review queen, like I don't like reading reviews. And the reason why, and again, a lot of people would tell me that I'm crazy about it as well because you can learn something, right? This is what we're talking about. Like you can learn something from something that someone else experienced, and I get it. I get the whole sentiment of it, right? But when you look at it from a standpoint of a movie, it's not the same as a standpoint of a tool. Or when you look at it, you know what I mean? Like, and so there have been plenty times using movies as an example where somebody said this movie was horrible and I loved it. Like I watched it anyway and I loved it. But with me seeing what people said about it, I walked into it with the want to not like, with the want to dismiss it or to downplay it. And because everything in me didn't allow it, which is I'm always grateful for. But it's also the same thing with things that you purchase. Like again, everything is not always for everyone. I feel like it can be if you decide that it will be, but there have been things that I've bought that you might feel like are cheap in nature that I have certain just a level of appreciation for because of what I expected from it is everything. You know what I mean? And so again, I know that's future. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, I was gonna say to that point, like because we're so vested in the past, we'll buy something that we really want, find out, oh, I didn't really want this, but keep it just because you paid for it. Like we're not willing to let stuff go, even if it has no function anymore. We don't like it, we don't enjoy it. It's a reminder of a time we stepped out on a limb, but we should be grateful because we learned something new. And like the perfect example, it was the IANS conference this year, like this week actually, and I chose not to go. I went last year. I chose not to go this year, and I ended up like, dang, I should have went. Like I had my reasons for not going that were kind of rooted in the past, but I was like, man, I should have went. But instead of being down on myself, I'm grateful for this experience because had I went, I probably would have took this for granted again and like, nah, I'm not going next year. But now I know that this is something that I do want to go to. I do want to start to be at and things, and it's like don't be afraid to accept the quote unquote loss because it's not really a loss because you learn something new about yourself and your relationship to what you want.
So funny enough, we this has happened to me before on this show. This literally what you've just described is a pet peeve of mine. I hate keeping things that I no longer have a use for, but I hold on to them because of the past. Of like I don't want to feel like I wasted any money. It's just all these different things that's tied to it. And the reason why I'm laughing is because I looked up and I saw this. I don't know if you can see this, or you probably can't even see it. It's a GoPro.
Yeah,
This is my old GoPro, right? And I know I don't need to have this no more, bro. Like I have I have a new one that I record all my games with, and and just like you after the show are going to go and look at all the things, I'm going to go through stuff and I'm just going to get rid of stuff because I know, I understand, and this is the part that we miss out on in this is that holding on, it makes it difficult for you to open up for what's new, what's now. Like it doesn't even allow room for what's now. It doesn't, and this is something that I know I've experienced 100% times. And I know it sounds crazy, it might sound magical. The times when I get rid of the things that I really know I don't need anymore, something does show up. Something new does always come. It always happens, bro. And the funniest part about this, when you talk about the past and how it has a relationship with the future, sometimes I hold on to things like this because I'm thinking, well, I'm going to wait until I can get such and such and such and such to replace it, even though I already have something else to replace it. That's the craziest part about it. And it's funny the trick that we play on ourselves, but again, not realize what we're restricting or not allowing ourselves to open up for. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, and to that point, like we've all been to a house or an apartment when it was ours and it was empty. It was empty, and there were so many possibilities of what could fill that space, and we delighted in it. It brought joy. Like, ooh, we can get this. We can put it here. We can get this over here. I can put this up here in this place, and it was an exciting thing. And then we get all this stuff. Some of it, like a lot of it, we love, but it's also some stuff that we don't at the same time that we should have got rid of a long time ago. But again, we're fearful of like, okay, I spend my money, I'm wasting money if that, but a space will always get filled. Not only in the physical, but like mentally. Once we start turning away from certain habits and things that we no longer want, this space is going to get filled with more things that we do want, but we have to be willing to let go of certain things and energies, both physically and mentally.
So again, practical, just straight to the point. One thing that we always have at my house is we don't have enough room. That is the thing. Like it's just one of those things. And this is something that I hear, like me being a real estate broker, this is something that I hear on a consistent basis from most people, right? But then whenever, people are getting ready to move, they always have so much stuff that they have to give away or they don't want anymore. And even in my own home, I think to myself, well, if I was willing to let go of all the stuff that I don't want, how much room would I have? Like I would have, I want more room. There's something that I'm craving, but I won't even make room for more room by getting rid of the stuff that I don't want. And again, just something to show an example. I love kids teach you everything, and this is something I get to teach my kids over and over again through some of the simplest ways. So both of my sons got PlayStation 5s, right? And I could go and buy an external hard drive and add it to their PlayStation 5, but I decided not to do it because I'm teaching lessons, even though I'm teaching myself the lesson again, even today, right? And so my youngest son specifically, he has NBA 2K24, right? He also had NBA 2K23, and he also had NBA 2K22, right? And for whatever reason, he always wants to keep all three of them on the PlayStation. And then there comes a time where something else comes out that he wants, and we have PlayStation Plus, so he can download whatever games he wants for free. And so he always says, "Well, I can't add this," and I'll be like, "Well, you got to get rid of something that you don't want anymore." Like, and he said, "Well, I want all of them," and so I go to explain to him, "Well, NBA 2K23 is the older version of 20. I mean, the older version of 24, and the older, 22 is the older version of 23, and they're updated. You don't even need the old ones anymore. But I just want to have them on there. Well, you can't have a new game. You know what I mean? You can't get a new game, and so it's just one of those things that I show him, and then when I delete the game, then he can add whatever else he wants to add to it. But it's funny that we start that as kids. Like, why are you holding on to something that you don't even look at half the time? Go ahead, Jay.
So two things to that. One, I can relate because I think the last system I maybe owned was a PS2 or something, where they had memory cards, or the PS1. I know PS1 had. I don't know if PS2 had it, but memory card. And there's this game, a racing game where you can get a super license. I didn't even know it was possible until a friend was like, "Oh yeah, I got a super license." I'm like, "It's possible." He's like, "Man, it took a long time." So I was like, "Fine, I'm gonna do it." It took a long time, like months or whatever. And because I got that, I never once throw that memory card away. But I don't even have a system, and if I probably looked hard enough, I could probably find that memory card somewhere. Just because I was so invested in all this time that it took, that is crazy. And then the second thing I want to bring up is we all want to kind of like live different places and around the world. Like it's a good thing to even think about, even in the same city. But when we think about it, it's like, man, it's a lot just to move. But if we think, okay, real question: if you and your kids all had, your wife all had one suitcase of belongings, period. Like that's it. Like each of y'all. So it's how many of y'all is it? It's four of y'all. So it's four
Yeah, for
suitcases. Uh, would you move right now? You know what I mean? Like I know you love your house. Is that a possibility, or would you like, nah, I'm still stay at this house?
Well, I mean, it depends on what was the reason for moving. Like, You saying I can
Just
move?
any reason you like, ooh, I think it'd be cool to just live down the street.
I mean, I wouldn't have no problem moving
Yeah,
because to me, I don't have a lot to take. Again, me looking around my room now, I I understand what we're discussing, right? Holding on to the past and stuff that I don't really need. Um, but I know that my family wouldn't want to because I know what all they would want to take. I know what all it would take for them to move.
yeah, yeah. I got you.
You get what I'm
Um,
saying? Like,
yeah,
look, when we go on a vacation, I try to take the least amount of stuff possible. Period. I can literally take a duffel bag and I'd be kind of cool,
yeah,
right? But no matter how many times we've gone on a trip, I try to get my wife to minimize what she takes, and she tries, but no matter what, it's still the same. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? No matter how you shave it, you know that 50-pound bag. When we get to the airport, we got to take stuff out of it and put it in my bag, no matter what.
yeah,
And so it's just one of those things. It's just one of those things where I would and could, but I don't know if everybody else would and could because we are so tied to it. And again, I'm not just trying to put it on them. I just showed you a GoPro that I have for no reason. I haven't turned this on in 3 years. And funny, I had two of them, and I because I felt like it needed to do something specific. I gave it to my brothers came over. I was like, man, you need to take this GoPro and you need to record your kids with this mud. But again, now I'm holding on to this one to give it to somebody else just for whatever reason. It doesn't even make. I can't even give you a reason. And
yeah,
I don't have a lot like that, but I have things, and it's still tied to past relationship that I've created that's not even real anymore. Go ahead, Jay.
yeah, yeah. That's real. And I'm thinking about my situation. I definitely would move or just go just live places, but I have more than a suitcase worth of stuff right now. But I don't need it because I'm the same way. Like when I travel, I don't need that much unless I'm just trying to be like super fly on that trip, and then I just got like a bunch of stuff to mix and match with. But yeah, that's an interesting dynamic too. I didn't even think about that. Like even in my own space of how much of the past is in here, even stuff I don't want. Like even some gifts that were given to me, and it's like I don't want to let that go because somebody gave that to me, and I feel like I'm letting them down by throwing this away. But I don't even really use this at all.
But you know what's so again, we still on the past and even holding on to gifts, right?
Yeah,
When I try to think about it right now, I I want to believe because I'm big with that too. I got cards uh what are those Hallmark cards and stuff
yeah.
like that, right?
I throw those away the day of.
And I feel you, right? So, but here's the deal though. I got kids that give me cards, and for whatever reason, I'm not a card person, number one, but they give them to me, and I feel the exact same way you feel about gifts, right? But the thing that I'm telling myself now, whether it be a card or a gift, I think people want you to appreciate that in the moment. Unless they give you something like a blender, right? If they give
Yeah,
you a blender, that's a multi-use device that you would use on until it burns out or until you get a new one. But I don't think that anyone would want you to keep a blender if you got a new one. Like if I bought you a blender in January and then in whatever in May you decide to get you a new blender, I would not feel any type of way. Troy Washington, with you coming over your house and be like, "Oh, you got your new blender already? Oh, that's what's up." I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't even say anything because it wouldn't really be a big deal. I really believe gifts are something that are of the moment, and most of the time, people just want to share that moment with you. Like, "Hey, here's a gift. You like that? Tight. I'm glad you liked it. Boom. I don't even think about it no more." But go ahead, Jay.
I love that because I am that way with gifts. Like no matter what I get to you, you can do what you want with it. You can break it, throw it away in front of me. Like the gesture is in the moment, and I love that. And to that point, please, anyone who wants to send me any gifts, don't let that stop you. Send me all the gifts that you would like to send. I am an appreciator of it. As you can see, I still hold on to some of them, even though I might not need it. But yeah, man, it's so many ways. And just think if we're doing this physically, just think about all the mental hangups and just the bad thoughts or the bad emotions that we had in a given moment, and we carried it with us now. And shout out to Loretta. Loretta said, it is common for people who experience unresolved trauma to become hoarders because they try to re experience positive memories through items and do not want to let them go. Ooh, that's interesting.
I'm gonna tell you something about that too. You know, like we like to use that word nostalgia. I think that's how you say it, right? Is that how you
Mm-hmm.
say that word? Um, there have been times, bro, where I've been riding through an old neighborhood that I lived in, and there's a sense of nostalgia, right? Like you can feel, like you can kind of just feel the essence of it all. And the uh, the times when I've done that, and I'm not saying all the times, but there's also been some times when I felt it and I didn't want to feel it, right? Like it felt it. I don't want to say that it was a fear or there was but there was a sense of unease in me. Like this is, and again, there was no specific moment or anything bad happening to me, but just remembering living in that time period is just like, why would I ever want to experience it? And it's so much so that sometimes it'll make you not want to drive through those areas again, right? And I don't know why that is the case. Number one, but needless to say, that again. Okay, so first of all, the reason why I said that is because I didn't specifically attach any memories to those moments, right? And what we do a lot of times, reason why we love living in that past is because we attach grand moments or great or loving or caring or exciting or happy moments to a specific place, area, thing. And you're right, we don't want to let it go. But again, the part that we're missing the boat on is like I love this mic, right? And so whenever, I go into the store, there's this brand new mic. It has more clarity. It has a deeper depth and warmth in it. And if I use it, it'll probably be amazing. But you know what? I love this mic so much because this one time me and Jay Clay made this song, man, my voice came out like this one time. Me and Jay Clay made this song. My voice came out so clear that everybody said, "Man, you wrecked that song. You wrecked that
Yeah.
song." And now I never allowed the appreciation for what's in front of me to be a part of my world, and it leaves you stuck. Go ahead, Jay.
Well, actually, like I'm actually under the belief that if it does bring you joy, you should keep it. Because I can't honestly say that I've been in a place filled with enough things to hoard where all of them bring me joy. Like it might be one thing in the midst that's like, man, this is really joyful. But just really think about if you were in a room with every single thing that brought you joy. That's very joyful. You know what I mean? And it'll be at least I feel like it'll be very easy to live in that environment. But it's when you mix everything else with it, the stuff that didn't like that unease feeling too, that it could become a burden more than a, a joy.
And so here's the key to what I'm saying though. And I'm with you though, because that is idea. Like if I could look around, again, I'm gonna keep bringing the GoPro up. When I look at the GoPro, I have no emotion toward this. I'm not. The only thing that I'm thinking about is where can I put this so that way I don't have to look at it. So that's not a joyous thought. Now, the key to what I'm saying about the microphone is I didn't say one time how it made me feel today. I just said I love the mic because, and because the hands, bro. But because now it doesn't mean that if I sit back and I say, you know what, man, this mic means a lot to me now because I have a level of appreciation because it allows me to do the things that I want to do right now. And when I hear myself in it now, I still feel the crispness and I still feel the warmth and people still I still feel the love that I have for it now. But if my love is based off of that one moment and I don't want to even appreciate what's new, and this is where we miss it at. I'm not even giving myself an opportunity because my past is so prominent in front of me that I can't even see now. I won't even, I can listen to this new mic and I can hear the warmness and the crispness and how clear it is. But what I keep on thinking about is that one time on that CD when Charnay, my wife now, said, "Man, you go hard," and now now we married, and I love her, and all of these
Yeah.
different things that have come from it. It's how we end up being stuck. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Like I understand completely because not like there was a period there's a period of time where even with music, like when we were going into clubs every night, promoting heavily, doing stuff we didn't want to do for a possible reward that we wanted. Um, I didn't want to listen to music back then. Like even right now, sometimes when I hear music from that time, it's like I got that energy to it just because I wasn't living in my space of joy. And so I definitely feel you too about appreciating something for only that back then moment and not now. Like these, I don't really need these hands, but they bring so much joy to any meeting that it's just like, yes. Yeah.
And see, that's the key there. That is present, and again, you thinking about the future in it. But I mean, in present, like you can feel it today, right? You can feel it today over and over again, reliving, making a new moment. And I think that's kind of key here when we discuss this. And then I also want to just kind of, shift this to the future because we kind of locked in on how the past
Right.
has us, you know, s- stuck in moments that are not present. But that same thing happens when you look forward. And you just said it, and I can't even remember exactly how you said it, but being tied to an outcome. Go. That's what you said. Go ahead, Jay.
Right. Being tied to an outcome, but also like you're creating that outcome. But and you don't all we may not always realize that we're creating this outcome by being so fixated on how it's always been or how we've always perceived it being. Like it can never be any other way. So I don't want to live in this type of future. So I'm not going to do this thing anymore. Even though I love this thing. This thing, it lights me up just thinking about doing it. But I might get hurt, or I might people might laugh at me or think I'm stupid because somebody laughed at me that one time. Or even though I got 10 great comments, I got one bad one. And so I don't want to get the bad one. And again, we're letting this idea of the past create this future and even stopping us from experiencing the future. Even though we really can't experience the future, we always experience everything right now, but we don't always see it like that.
So I'm gonna tell you a couple things. It makes me think about something in the past, that we overcame in order to get to where we are. But it also makes me think about how I think about the future, or how I've thought about the future, and how I know that other people have thought about the future because they've expressed it to me. And that's just use being a content creator as an example. Now, if you're somebody that's on TikTok, or you watch Reels, or you're on Instagram and you look at a lot of or shorts on YouTube, a lot of quick media that comes out, there are they have a lot of advertisements about your presentation and the way it should look and how it should go, and get this mic to make it sound a certain way, and this all of these different things, right? And those are the future hangups that prevent you from living in the now. Now I'll use myself as an example. There have been a many times where I've said, okay, you know what, I'm about to do a real estate video. And then I looked at him like, oh man, my hair ain't right. Or, and if I do this, this is what's going to happen. And so what ends up happening is I don't move at all. I end up being stagnated, or I end up being stuck, and I miss an opportunity for now to be myself. And again, the reason why I point this out, not only because I know it's handicapped me, I hear people talk about it all the time. This is one of the reasons why I love this show, because there's no out for me. On Sunday, if my hair is not like it's supposed to be, I still have to do it no matter what. I still have to get on and present, because it's just the way that my life is set up. Now, the craziest part about it, Jay, is the same logic for everything else does not translate for me all the time. And it's weird that way. Now, predetermining an outcome is the craziest thing that you could ever do. Now, when I said I was going to go back and revisit the past, when me and used to travel all the time to do shows, I remember getting prepared to go to Atlanta and going to a place that you're supposed to be afraid of. Because if you go to these places, this is going to happen to you. And I remember the people that were with us being afraid because if we go to these places, this is what's going to happen to you. And I also remember combating, and I'm telling you this because I want you to know, and I know you probably thought the same thing. In my mind, I thought, I don't agree with none of what y'all talking about. I just know that me and Jay Clay, we went somewhere, and everywhere we go, we have fun. Now, again, I'm using a little bit of past to combat the future, but I also knew that when I went there, no matter what, I was going to be me. Now, whatever outcome I may have predetermined was different from what people also predetermined, but it also wasn't what truly happened. Those times when we got there, we had and met some of the most amazing people and had some of the most amazing times because we didn't allow the future thought process to dictate our actions in the moment. Go ahead, Jay.
And a lot of times too, even with that story, we surrendered to the moment.
Real
And what
talk.
I mean was like we tried to bring the past with us because we went on these trips initially to sell CDs. And whenever we came into a large group of people, we would sell a large number of CDs. So we thought Cancun, spring break, let's do it. We went there, and since you got wristbands, nobody had no money. Nobody. We
Yep.
tried for like 2 or 3 days, nothing. They was like, "Ooh, I'll
Yep.
buy it, but I don't got nothing on me." They're not thinking about buying anything. So we surrendered. We was like, you know what? We're not gonna sell no CDs. Let's have fun. Let's actually have
Yep.
fun on this trip.
Real talk.
Everything changed. It opened up opportunities where people did end up buying CDs later from us, like once they got back to the States. It led to us having the most fun we ever had, like you said, building those relationships with people we never really would have talked to or met or anything. Being in a position to perform while we're there in front of all of those people by just surrendering to the moment and saying, you know what, no more expectations. We're here. We don't care what brought us here. Let's enjoy this moment.
And so this is my question for you. And you're right. Like some of the relationships, number one, I know you still we still have them to this day. Like, look, the real McCoy, I see him all the time. And you know might not think Facebook is a relationship, but it is a
Even on the
relationship.
show.
Straight up though. So the real McCoy, like that's our guy. And this
Yeah.
is 20 years going right now, real talk, by surrendering. But the question is, whenever you're planning or you're trying to build something, how do you separate yourself from that final outcome? How do you surrender to the now? How do you, because I mean, when you use the idea of us going to Mexico and selling CDs, like we had all kind of obstacles at that point. And we could have been we could have been defeated and decided, and we could have kept on trying as well. But something clicked in us at that time for us to say, you know what, let's just live our life, right? How do you do that? What happens and what has to happen in order for you to say, you know what, I know I'm trying to get my real estate license, right? For somebody that's trying to get that real estate license, or I know I want to do this CD by this time frame, but it's not going to work out that way. How can I continue to, just be me? Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, it comes from awareness, like really being aware of the circumstances and in some ways ease and joy. So what I mean by that is when you're aligned with what you're doing and you're fully in the now, it feels easy. Even though if you put in a lot of work, it still feels easy and like, man, I feel good doing this. It feels joyful doing this. And to give an example, actually this week, I I was trying to work on something to further these projects that I'm working on. Kept getting these dead ends, and it's nothing I can do. Like I've done everything I can do. It's like I'm waiting on some other circumstance or waiting on someone else. So it's like, man, everywhere I turn, I can't move forward. What do I do? And so at this point, it's starting to feel like I'm forcing stuff, and I don't like feeling like I'm forcing anything. So I kind of surrendered to the moment. I was like, okay, God, what's up? What do you want me to do? Because apparently it's not this. And then the idea that I got was work on this other thing you hadn't worked on in a long time. And the reason I hadn't worked on it is because it's like a story that I'm fleshing out. And I didn't have an idea for that episode. It came like that. And I just started just typing away and got it out of me and it felt good. And so I say like the awareness of where you are and the energy that you're holding. If you're being too forceful, it's not meant for you to be doing that right now. If it's coming naturally and easily, and again, easily doesn't mean not very creative. It doesn't mean that you know what I'm trying to say. It can be challenging, but it's that energy is like it's just it's right. I'm doing the right thing right now.
And this is another piece to that too. And you actually touched on this at the very beginning of it. So number one, I'm always gonna say I'm always gonna agree with you 100%. Follow the love. Like it just makes life so much easier. Just like if I had a room full of everything that I appreciate, how much better would my life be? But one thing that I picked this up from basketball players, specifically LeBron James, because it's one of my favorite players of all times. But he always said they always ask him all the time, how at this age, now almost 40 years old, can you still not perform at the way that you perform, but like how can you still get up and do this every day? And he said, because I fell in love with the process. And I always have that as a part of my mind, because at the end of the day, this man can continue to go accomplish all these different goals. But whenever he's asked about it, he says, "I never worry about the goals because I'm in love with the process." And so the thing that I try to tell myself is, well, fall in love with the process of the things that you're doing. And to the point that you always make, Jay, when you appreciate things, they appreciate. I mean, they expand. Sometimes you can do something, and again, I'm not saying force yourself to do something, but if you've already deemed it something that you cannot love, you will never give yourself the opportunity. Just like I was talking about that mic, I can't like that mic because I like this mic so much. But the reality of it is, if I open myself up to love, there's an opportunity to love things. And if you didn't love it, you may be able to find something in it that you love, or you'll look at it from a different perspective. And if you can love the process, or make yourself open to loving the process, there's always another pathway in it, I should say, right? There's always another a way that you can walk in it, so that way the appreciation and the willingness and the fervor that you need to have in yourself to go for it will always be there, and that end doesn't matter anymore. Go ahead, Jay.
So check this out. What's cool about that and the process that you bring up. So one, of course, I fell in love with the process of making music. Now, I know that just from social media is a good way to promote music and promote yourself. And whenever I try to think about, okay, I got to do this on social media, it feels like I'm forcing it, like a burden. And I talked to you about it. I was like, you know what? I finally accepted that I'm going to find another way to do this without me having to do the social media stuff. The funny thing that happened this week is because I freed myself of that burden, I have a process in mind of how I do want to do social media. Like I had gave up this in a sense by just accepting where I am, but in that I found a new process that I'm excited about trying. Again, I don't know if this is going to be the final process or if it's going to lead to me promoting myself fully on social media, but I'm excited about exploring this idea. And it goes to show when you just surrender to your feelings. Like if you don't like something, you just don't like it, and it's nothing. It's all right to not like something. And if you want to go for something, it's all right to go for it, even if nobody else thinks you should or that you're crazy. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing when you surrender to the moment.
So I'm gonna say this, and again, I got to bring my kids into it real quick. But my entire life, bro, I've always loved basketball. Now, I could have been maybe the greatest shooter of all time, but the process of becoming a great shooter, I never wanted. I never wanted to do it. I never wanted to spend the time to even think about it, because I just would rather just go out there and just shoot the basketball. Like I don't got time to worry about that, right? But lo and behold, you have kids one day and they want to be basketball players. And so now I have to learn the process of being a shooter, right? And funny enough, I go out and I sit and watch them shoot over and over and over again every day, days on end. I'm always watching them shoot. Now, but this is the beauty of it. I never spent the time to do that for myself, because just the thought of it, then I hate it, right? but because there's a love and appreciation for it now because of my kids, I love watching them do it. Like we went and done it this morning. Like I know every aspect of my kid's shot, but not only that, I step away from them and I look at shooters all the time, and I'm looking at all of these details because I'm so enamored and in love with the whole process of it that I do it. I'm doing something that I hated at a time, right? And I do it easily every day without any remorse. In effect, even my kids, they don't like to be out there as much as I do. But all I'm doing is sitting and looking at their hands, looking at their body posture, looking at all of these different things because I love the process of it now. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, and since we're going low on time, I remember something I did want to talk about with this subject real quick because I know it could be helpful to people. The idea of pain that comes from the past, like it comes from something we're holding on to, like some kind of unease, not necessarily it's dis-ease, but not a disease. And sometimes in this moment, if you're experiencing some kind of discomfort, ask yourself, what's the purpose of this? What purpose am I giving this pain? What purpose do I have for this to continue bringing this with me now? And you'll be surprised at the answers that come up. I've done this with myself, and it's just it could be anything ranging from I don't want to do something and I'm just not being real with myself to I think that this might give me some sympathy points from something that somebody made me do that I didn't want to do. So I don't know. It's just so many interesting things that come up, and you realize how even silly pain is, and even carrying that on as a possibility in your life. So to that as well, I would say ask yourself about it from this standpoint, but don't necessarily look for the cause of it in the past.
I'm gonna say one last thing, and I'm gonna be done. And again, just show you how the past and let it go, right? The future, fall in love with the process. That like I got a TV right now. I just took off TJ's wall. The TV is a TV that we bought when we first moved into this house. And the TV, I can take it to Best Buy and get it fixed, and it might be like $175 to get the backlight fixed, or $200 or whatever, right? But you can go buy new TVs right now, same size for like $175 or $200, right? Why? You feel what I'm saying? Like just this show alone, it just makes me ask the question, why? And I said that to tell everybody else, look, man, when you remove the past, you make room for the new. It's always gonna be there. I even had a homeboy shout him out real quick. I ain't gonna say his name, but he was even on Facebook like, man, hey, if you my friend, come through. I got some TVs for $375, 75-inch TVs. So it's just little stuff like that. And when I see it and I realize what I'm doing, it's a check. So I caution everybody. Well, I don't caution everybody. I encourage everybody to realize that now is more important than anything that you could ever have. And that's the reason why this whole title, The Present Has No Equal, I love it. Nothing can be better than now. Nothing can be more fulfilling than now. And if you allow yourself to appreciate now, love the process, then you will literally be in heaven. And I just want to say that I appreciate everybody for joining us today. We appreciate any added commentary because y'all help us to realize that we're perfect. We fix things while we've been on this show. I know that there's some homework that me and him both are about to do right when we get out. So without y'all, we wouldn't be able to, grow the way that we are. And we hope that we're doing the same for y'all. And Jay, you can go ahead and take us out, baby.
Yeah, appreciate y'all again for rocking with us. Remember, we're here every Sunday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. Central Time. And just if you found this helpful, hit the share button so others can delight in that as well and feel fulfilled as well and encouraged. And remember, you're a perfect creation made by a perfect creator. So you might as well accept your perfection and enter perfect mode. If I reminded you that you are perfect, would you argue me down or step into your perfection? Welcome to perfect mode, where there are no excuses, no expectations, and we explore the world without limitations. I'm Jay Clay, rapper, the spiritual teacher. With my co-host Troy Washington, your friendly neighborhood realtor. Let's be real. So let's be perfect. Perfect. Everything, anything, many things, plenty things, perfect. Everything, anything, many things, plenty things, perfect. Everything, anything, many things.